Listen up, people. That's right. It's time to listen to the sparks of bliss in your life. I'm your host and life coach, Caroline de Posada from Miami, Florida. And this podcast is an invitation to join me in upgrading our mindset, wellness, and relationships so that together we create a life that unlocks our bliss. Join me each week as we explore practical strategies, inspiring stories, and the moments of clarity, or as we like to call them, los momenticos, that make the world a little more magical. Consider this your weekly dose of wisdom in your pocket. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Hey, listeners, welcome to episode number 12 of Blissin' Up. Today, I want to talk to you about one of the secrets of creating a life that sparks bliss. And the secret is intentionally doing hard things. Now, what do I mean by hard things? I'm referring specifically to exercises and challenges that take you out of your comfort zone or your regular routine. These can range from a variety of things. It could be anything like a silent retreat or training for a half marathon or a full marathon, trying a new exercise routine, learning a new language or how to play an instrument, hiking a mountain. In my case, I just finished a 5-day mimic fast. I've been talking about it for the last couple of weeks that I host a Rejuva fast every quarter. And I am talking to you today as I've completed Rejuva fast. So that was my hard thing for this week. Now, oftentimes when we see someone that's doing something that we consider is hard, right? We tend to think they're a little crazy. Like, why would anyone put themselves through that thing on purpose? And you could think that, like, if somebody that's training for an Ironman, for example, or, trying to run an ultra marathon. Like, it's just, you look at that person and you're like, why? Why would you do that? And there are a couple of reasons that we tend to think that. Number one, it's because we have been accustomed to being comfortable. There is like a misconception that the more comfortable you are, the happier you will be. We tend to wait for happiness. So, like, when I get a nice job, or when I get a house, or when I get married, or when I have all these things in order, like when I am comfortable, I will be in in full happiness. Like, everything is going to be perfect. But that's actually falling into a trap that psychologists refer to as the hedonic treadmill. The hedonic treadmill is the idea that no matter how comfortable or our lives become, we quickly adapt to that comfort, and then all of a sudden we need and seek more comfort. So our comfort tolerance actually goes down the more comfortable we become. Now, Michael Easter wrote a book called The Comfort Crisis that explores that being too comfortable can actually impede with your happiness and make you more anxious. It's a really crazy phenomenon. He even states, we're living in a progressively sheltered, sterile, temperature controlled, overfed, under challenged, safety netted life. And basically, his claim is that that can hurt us rather than help us. And psychologists agree with that. It's proven. We should embrace discomfort, and we need to embrace discomfort. But we fall into this trap and we think that, it's like intuitively we hold on to the comforts and we think that it's crazy to get out of that comfort. So that's one reason. But there's a second reason. And the second reason is that apart from just first world comforts and, that we have, life can be hard. All by itself. Life can throw some difficult stuff at you. You may have to deal with death or illness or a tragedy. Sometimes you have to deal with a job you hate or a difficult relationship that really makes your life so hard. And it's easy to think, I have enough to deal with. Why would I put myself through more? I'll tell you, In all honesty, even my husband this week questioned me on doing this fast. As you guys may know, if you've listened to my other episodes or read my blog, I've been dealing with some difficult stuff with my sister. She's been so ill. She's been hospitalized now since June 12th. So it's been over a month that she's been in the hospital. And we've been traveling to and from Fort Myers to see her and be with her and support her. It's just been a really stressful time. And this weekend, or this past weekend, I was in Fort Myers with my husband and my kids to visit her. And it was Saturday, and I was talking to my husband, and I said, "Hey, I just want you to know that tomorrow I start Rejuva Fast." And he looked at me and he was like, "Oh my God, more suffering? Like you're going to expose yourself to more suffering? Haven't you had enough suffering?" And I kind of see his point. I get it, right? Like when you're going through a stressful time, you don't want to put yourself through more stress. But I just felt that there was a big difference between what I'm going through with my sister and doing the fast. And the difference is intention. Like I didn't choose to go through the stress of my sister's illness. Like that was stress that was kind of brought on to me by life. Just like I didn't choose for my father's death, and I didn't choose a lot of the experiences that I've had in my life that have been sad or hard or tragic or stressful. We don't choose those things. And yes, they're going to come at you. But when you choose to do hard things in a controlled environment, magical things happen. And it's really all about your thoughts, right? It's where your thoughts take you that makes all the difference in the world. So for me, I have found, and I've chosen to do a lot of hard things. Like I trained for a half marathon. When my girlfriend Betsy's daughter died, we decided to go all in and we trained for this half marathon. And then we trained for a full marathon after my dad died. And I do these fasts periodically, and I chose to write a book, which was like a big challenge. And at some point, I changed careers. I was a lawyer, and I became a life coach and an inspirational speaker. And these have been hard things that I've intentionally chosen to do. But what I've learned is that through those hard, controlled challenges that I've put myself through, I've been able to process the hard things I didn't choose. Like it's this fascinating phenomenon. When you are going through something that is hard and stressful, but it's in a controlled environment, all of a sudden everything comes up for you. You get to have incredibly deep reflections. You get to process your pain that you've experienced. You get to challenge your limiting beliefs. You get to challenge your mindset. You get to see life in a different perspective. It is life-changing, and it's one of those things that really allows you to heal the harder parts of life that you did not choose. Now, I don't know exactly why this happens. I just know that it does, and it's a really powerful thing. So, when I decided that I was going to do this 5-day fast, I knew that I was already going through a stressful environment, but I was doing this with intention. So I set a focus to do this in honor of my sister, to do this in solidarity with my sister, to do this for myself because I can do hard things. It was a little different, which leads me to the second reason why doing hard things is powerful. And that is because it's self-imposed. It's self-imposed. So when you approach a challenge that is self-imposed, you don't approach it as a victim. You approach it as a victor. You can't blame God or the universe or anyone else for choosing to do this hard thing. You can only blame yourself because you're the one that chose to do it, right? You also know you don't have to do it. So that's a big thing. I am doing this and I don't have to do it, but I'm doing it anyway. And you can quit at any time. Like, because it's self-imposed, it's you can get out of it if you want to. So as you push yourself to go through it and challenge yourself, and this could be like at the gym when you're doing weights, or it could be, when you go camping, if you're if you're like a bougie person and you don't like camping, and all of a sudden you're like exposing yourself to the bugs and all this stuff, you're putting yourself through these hard things that you're doing, and you're like, I know that I did this to myself. Well, that makes you empowered. That makes you a victor. And it teaches you that you do have certain control over some of the things that happen in your life. And it's fascinating how it allows you to step into this identity of starting to understand and learn to do the things that are within your control and surrender the things that are not within your control. And that victor mindset starts to permeate through your life, because how you do one thing starts to become how you do everything. So I remember, like, when I was training for a marathon, it was incredible to me how parallel the training for the marathon was with just living my regular life. And if you guys have ever done something hard like that, I'm sure that you've experienced that you're like, oh my God, this applies so much to my regular life. And you start to approach your regular life more as a victor, because you really start to tap into your control, into your empowerment, into your resilience. It's a beautiful thing. And then lastly, the third reason why doing hard things is great is because it causes what's called hormetic, I think I'm saying that right, hormetic stress. And hormetic stress is a biological phenomenon where you get beneficial effects from intentionally exposing yourself to controlled levels of stress, right? We tend to think that stress is bad, but stress is not bad. In fact, I have a whole episode that I want to share with you on why stress is not bad and what makes stress bad. But one thing is for sure, that when you're intentionally exposing yourself to stress, it actually does the opposite effect of harm. It does a lot of good to your body and to your mind and to your soul, which is a little bit different than being exposed to a constant chronic state of stress. So it like releases your dopamine. So those are the reasons why doing hard things is great. But here is what fascinates me the most. And that is what happens on the other side of doing the hard things. It is where you get to tap into your bliss. It's where you get to feel empowered, feel accomplished, feel like you have conquered something in your life. And sometimes those are little wins, and sometimes they're big wins. But I will tell you, there are so many small, big wins that we have in our lives. And what I mean by that is that they may seem like a small accomplishment, but they are big contributors to a life that sparks bliss. They start giving us a sense of accomplishment, of power, of resilience. You start to believe in yourself. You start to have confidence in yourself. Like, man, I can do this. What is this? Who am I? Like, how strong am I? And I've seen it. I've seen it with so many people that have gone through our RejuvaFast programs, and people that have coached with me and are doing hard things. And to see them on the other side of them is just so magical and powerful. I was thinking yesterday, I had an event that I was hired to do, where I got to go to this amazing woman's house. She was hosting a dinner for a group of women, and she wanted to do a special experience for them. So we did a surprise blindfold dinner, and she hired this incredible chef, and she hired me to facilitate the experience. So all these women put on these blindfolds, and I was walking around and guiding them in doing this thing that was uncomfortable. It was hard to eat blind, right? To like take away one of your senses completely is a challenge. It's uncomfortable. So I was guiding these women in doing this and experiencing this and connecting it to real life, connecting it to their personalities, teaching them how to like learn about themselves and learn about their limiting beliefs and like challenge themselves, tap into their resilience, and really explore mindfulness, gratitude, vulnerability, trust, heightening and activating your other senses. It was like this magical thing. And as they were going through their hard thing, I was in a fast. And I was watching this chef create these spectacular meals, appetizers and palate cleansers and desserts and the main course. It was beautiful. And I'm watching this woman do this and it smells delicious. And I'm there and I'm experiencing it, teaching them how to do something that's difficult and but enjoyable while I am doing something that's difficult but also enjoyable. Because even in that moment, although I could smell the food and I longed to taste the food because I'm human, I also felt so empowered in knowing that I am strong enough to be there and participate and not have to engage in the food. Like I can participate in a social way without having to participate by eating. And it was like, wow. And then I started to think back at all the other fasts that I've done. We've been doing these mimic fasts since 2020. And, I started with mimic fasting because I have a program that offers the mimic fast. It's a gentle and mild way to be introduced to fasting because you do get to eat. And then I upgraded at some point to water fasting. So I went like all in and I would just have my supplements and my electrolytes, but I wouldn't eat food. And then sometimes I do mimic fasting again. Like this time in particular, I did mimic fasting again because it just felt that was what was right for my body and this season. So, I've done like different levels of the fasting and I've challenged myself in different ways. But every fast, there's a challenge. Like there was one time, it was my cousin's birthday, and her husband makes these delicious churrascos on the grill and corn on the cobs and these great foods. And it was her birthday. So we went to her house and I had to sit there while everybody was eating and enjoying these amazing foods. And I just participated drinking my electrolytes, because I think that one was a water fast, if I'm not mistaken. Then there was another time where I was in a conference the entire week. And you know how conferences are? There's like, breakfast and then snack and then lunch and then snack and then dinner and then snack, like, and then midnight snack. Like there's like always food available to you. And they give you the, all the junky foods, all the treats, all the good stuff. And I was there and I was fasting the whole week and I got to really engage and participate. And then there was the time that I had a mastermind group the day that I was fasting, and they brought these delicious avocado brownies that I was dying to try, but they ate them all because I was fasting. And then there was the time that I had my girls' night out, and my girlfriend Frances and I went together to this girls' night out. We went to this great restaurant. They ordered all this fantastic, magnificent food, and we drank water. And each time there's been a challenge. And at that moment, it is hard at that moment. But then the hard kind of passes. And then you start to realize how strong you are. And then you start feeling empowered. And then you feel unstoppable. And then the challenge is over. And you can go back to your comfortable life. And you all of a sudden feel bliss. Like this moment of sheer happiness, of accomplishment, of joy, of achievement, of gratitude for the comforts that you have that maybe you took for granted just a few days ago. It just is magical. So today I want to challenge you to do hard things and pick the hard thing. It doesn't matter what it is. Even the Stoics talk about embracing discomfort in order to live a happy, good life. And there's one passage I remember a Stoic talking about how periodically he sleeps on the floor because he recognizes that sleeping on a mattress is a huge comfort that we take for granted. So every once in a while, he sleeps on the floor to remember what it's like to have a mattress. And he's just embracing discomfort. So I encourage you to look for little hard things in your life, to look for little wins that you can hold on to, that you can tap into your resilience. Because, of course, there's always going to be hard that finds you that you can't choose, that you don't choose, and that you don't want to go through. But when you have these hard challenges under your belt, they help you. They help you become more resilient, and they help you show up and confront the hard that you do not choose in a much, much healthier, better, more resilient way. So that's what I got for you today. I was thinking about this one last thing about doing hard things. And it was a conversation that I had with a podiatrist that had seen my sister in Fort Myers. And he came up to me, and after, we were talking, and he's like, I have a sister who also struggles with obesity and diabetes. And she's kind of like on the same track as your sister. My sister is struggling. She recently had an amputation. And this podiatrist was telling me, like, I see what my sister is going through. And really, what I've noticed is that she's always chosen to be comfortable. She's never been hard on her body. And then he said to me, if you're not hard on your body is going to eventually be hard on you. And that struck me. And I thought that applies not just to your body, but to everything. We've got to be hard on our minds and our bodies, like in a graceful, compassionate, loving way. I'm not saying like in a torturous way. Like I don't suggest that you torture yourself, but when you are hard on yourself, when you don't let yourself off the hook, when you allow yourself to be uncomfortable, where you allow yourself to grit through things, to kind of push through the pain, to get to the other side of it. And when you do it intentionally, your life is easier later. And when you choose comfort all the time, your life becomes harder later. So do the hard things now so that life doesn't become harder later. That's a big lesson for all of us to learn. And the best part about it is, even though it's hard, it sparks bliss. It's incredible. So I invite you to try it. I invite you to do something hard. Maybe you'll want to join me in Rajua Fast in October. You can go to our website, rajuafast.com. I think we're doing it October 20th through the 25th. Maybe you decide to go on a meditation retreat, or you decide to start training for a marathon, or you finally pick up that pen and put it to paper and start writing, which you've been wanting to do forever. Or maybe it's time to start that career that you've dreamt of, or take a dance class that you've never tried before. Like, I've seen people take up tennis or take up ballet or take up, pole classes or bar classes. And they're like, oh my God, this is so hard. But there's so much joy on the other side of just putting yourself through the hard things with intention. And if you do that, I think your life is going to be magical. You're going to find so many blessings, so much synchronicity, so many lessons, and you're going to connect the dots between that and how you live regular life and how you approach all the stress and all the hardships and all the things that come at you fast in this world that we have such little control over. So I hope you reflect on that today and send me a message and let me know what hard thing you are choosing for now. And if you want to go deeper on this, I invite you to schedule a consult with me and let's do this together, because this is going to make your life way better. Have a great day, everybody. Happy Sacred Sunday, and I'll see you next week.
That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for being here. I am deeply, deeply grateful for this time to connect. Now, if you are feeling called to dig deeper and really work on elevating your mindset, your wellness, and your relationships, and you're looking for a life coach to work with you one-on-one and really help you just retrain your brain, define success on your own terms, and just live healthier, happier, and more meaningful life, well, I invite you to schedule a consult with me. Let's have a conversation and see if working together is in our future. You can find the link to calendar of consult right there in my show notes, but you can also connect with me on my website, carolinedeposada.com, or send me a DM on Instagram at carolinedeposada. I'm so excited to connect with you a little further. Now, as far as this podcast goes, I would so appreciate if you could leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Those reviews help us so much. And like my friend always says, the project is big and you're a part of it. So thank you for helping me spread good in this world.